Miami, 1964. Midnight. The city outside was alive with music drifting through windows, cars humming on distant streets, and people laughing in hotel lobbies. But in room 312, there was only silence. Muhammad Ali sat on the edge of his bed, alone. Tomorrow morning he would step into the ring with Sonny Liston, the most feared man in boxing. A man who'd sent grown fighters to the hospital. A man whose stare alone made champions retire. But tonight, Ali wasn't thinking about Liston's power. He was thinking about something else, his hands. He unwrapped the white bandages slowly and carefully. He looked at his fingers, his knuckles, his palms. They were smaller than most heavyweight fighters, thinner, almost delicate. "You're just fast," his trainer had said earlier. "But Liston, he's a monster." Ali had smiled then, but now, in the quiet, the smile was gone. He stood and walked to the mirror. 22 years old stared back at him. A kid, really. Someone who'd been talking big for months. "I'm the greatest. I'll shock the world. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." Everyone had heard it. The press, the fans, the doubters. But here, in this room, with no cameras, no microphones, no audience, who was he really? The mirror didn't answer. Ali touched his reflection and traced the outline of his face. He whispered something he'd never say in public. "What if I'm not ready?" The question hung in the air. He pushed it down and buried it because champions don't doubt. Champions don't fear. Champions just fight. But deep inside, in the part of himself no one saw, Ali knew the truth. He was terrified. Not of getting hurt, not of losing, but of becoming just another name, another fighter who talked big and fell hard. He walked back to the bed and sat down. He opened the nightstand drawer. Inside, a small piece of paper. He'd written it weeks ago, after a nightmare. Just one sentence, in his own handwriting. "They can take the belt, not the man." He didn't know why he wrote it, and didn't even remember the dream. But holding it now, something settled in his chest. A knowing. Tomorrow wasn't about Liston. It was about becoming who he said he was, or proving he never was in the first place. He folded the paper, put it back, and finally, hours before dawn, Muhammad Ali closed his eyes. Not to sleep, but to prepare. Morning came fast. The arena filled early because people wanted seats, good ones. They came to see the kid get destroyed. "Ali's got a big mouth," they said. "Liston's gonna shut it." The ring was set with ropes pulled tight and canvas clean, and in the center, under the lights, Sonny Liston stood motionless with arms at his sides and face blank. He didn't blink, didn't stretch, didn't even look around. He just existed, like a statue built for violence. When Ali walked out, the crowd roared. Some cheered, most booed. But Ali didn't hear them. He was watching Liston and studying him. And what he saw wasn't a monster. It was a man who believed his own legend, a man who thought fear was enough. Ali stepped through the ropes and bounced on his toes, loose, light, almost playful. Liston stared at him, cold and unblinking, trying to make Ali look away. But Ali didn't. He stared back and smiled. Not a cocky smile, but a knowing smile. Because in that moment Ali understood something Liston didn't. Fear only works if you accept it, and Ali refused. The referee called them to the center and gave instructions. Liston didn't move his eyes from Ali's face, still trying to intimidate, still trying to win before the bell. Ali leaned in and whispered, "You're in trouble, and you don't even know it yet." Liston's jaw tightened, just barely. But Ali saw it. The first crack. The bell rang. Round 1. Liston moved forward, slow, heavy, deliberate, like a machine programmed to destroy. He threw a left hook, massive, powerful, fight-ending. It cut through the air like a blade but hit nothing because Ali wasn't there. He'd already moved to the side, out of range, gone. Liston turned and threw again. Another hook, then a jab, then a combination. All power, all rage, all empty air. The crowd murmured. They'd never seen Liston miss like this. Not once, not twice, but every single punch. Ali circled, danced, floated. His feet barely touched the canvas. And then, as Liston reset, Ali struck with a quick jab. Snap, right on Liston's nose. Not hard, not meant to hurt, just meant to send a message. I can touch you whenever I want. Liston blinked. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Round 2. Liston came harder, swinging with bad intentions, trying to take Ali's head off. But Ali kept slipping, ducking, moving, making Liston look slow, making him look old, making him look human. And with every missed punch, Liston's legend cracked a little more. Round 3. Ali stopped dancing just for a second. He planted his feet and threw a combination. Jab, jab, right hand. All 3 landed clean. Liston's head snapped back. The crowd gasped, not because it hurt Liston badly, but because it proved something everyone had denied. Ali could hit him. And if Ali could hit him, Ali could beat him. Round 4, round 5, round 6. Ali took over, punching, moving, talking. You ain't nothing, Liston. Come on, hit me. Is that all you got? Liston chased, swung, missed. His face was swelling and his breathing was heavy. And slowly, the truth became obvious. This wasn't a fight. This was a dismantling. Round 6 ended. Liston walked to his corner and sat down. His trainer leaned in, urgent and desperate. You gotta get him. You gotta finish this. Liston stared across the ring at Ali, who wasn't even breathing hard, who was bouncing, smiling, talking to the crowd. And in that moment, Liston made a choice. He stayed seated. The bell rang for round 7. Liston didn't stand. The referee started counting. 1, 2, 3. The crowd erupted, screaming, confused, shocked. Ali jumped on the ropes with arms raised, shouting to the world. I shook up the world. I'm the greatest. I'm the king. Cameras flashed. Reporters rushed the ring. People who'd bet against him looked away. Muhammad Ali was heavyweight champion of the world. But here's what the cameras didn't catch. After the celebration, after the interviews, after everyone left, Ali sat alone in the locker room, still in his trunks, still wrapped in towels. And he wasn't celebrating anymore. He was staring at his hands, the same hands he'd looked at the night before, still small, still thin. But now they'd done something impossible. He looked up, at nothing, at everything, and whispered, "This is just the beginning." He didn't know how right he was. He didn't know that 3 years later everything would be taken from him. He didn't know that winning was the easy part and that keeping it was the war. But deep down, in the part of him that wrote that note, he suspected. Victory has a price, and Muhammad Ali was about to learn what that price was. 3 years later. Houston, 1967. The room was cold with white walls, white ceiling, and white fluorescent lights, a table and 2 chairs. Ali sat on one side, on the other a man in a gray suit. His face was calm, professional, almost kind, but his eyes were sharp. On the table between them sat a single piece of paper, clean, official, waiting. "Just sign it, Ali," the man said. His voice was steady and reasonable. "You go to Vietnam, you shake some hands, take a few photos, come back a hero." Ali looked at the paper. It was so simple. One signature, one moment, and his life would continue. Title, money, fame, future, all of it intact. But Ali didn't move. The man leaned back and folded his hands. "Ali, let me be clear. This isn't really a request." "Then what is it?" Ali asked quietly. "It's an opportunity to do your duty." Ali looked up. "My duty to who?" The man's expression didn't change. To your country. Ali almost laughed. My country? The one that won't let me eat in certain restaurants? That country? The man's jaw tightened. That's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Silence filled the room. The man leaned forward and his voice dropped. Ali, do you understand what happens if you refuse? Ali met his eyes. Tell me. You lose everything. Your title, your license, your career, your reputation. Ali's voice stayed calm. And if I sign, you keep it all. The words hung between them, heavy and final. Ali stood up. The man looked surprised. Where are you going? Ali walked to the door, stopped, and turned back. I'd rather lose it all than sell my soul. The man's face hardened. You're making a mistake, Ali. Ali opened the door. Maybe, but it's mine to make. And he walked out. The door closed behind him. In that hallway, walking alone, Ali felt something strange. Not regret, not fear, but clarity. For the first time in his life, he knew exactly who he was. Not a champion, not a celebrity. Just a man who refused to be told what to believe. And that, he realized, was worth more than any belt. The next morning, the news exploded. Every newspaper, every radio station, every TV channel carried the same headlines. Muhammad Ali refuses military service. Heavyweight champion defies draft. Ali says I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. The country split instantly. Half called him a hero, a man of principle, a voice for the voiceless. The other half called him a coward, a traitor, a disgrace. Protests erupted, rallies formed, death threats came. But Ali stayed quiet. He didn't give more interviews, didn't explain himself, didn't defend his choice, because he'd already said what needed to be said, and words, once spoken, don't need repeating. A week passed. Then the call came. His lawyer's voice was flat. Ali, they're stripping your title, effective immediately. Silence. Ali, you there? Yeah, Ali said quietly. I'm here. He hung up the phone, sat down on his couch, and stared at the wall. And for the first time since he was a boy, Muhammad Ali felt truly alone. Not lonely, but alone. There's a difference. Lonely is wanting someone there. Alone is knowing no one can be. He walked to his bedroom and opened the drawer where he kept that old note. They can take the belt, not the man. He read it over and realized he'd written it for this exact moment, a moment he didn't know was coming, but somehow, deep down, he'd prepared for. He folded it back up, put it away, and made a decision. If they were going to take everything from him, fine, but they'd never take his dignity. They'd never take his voice. And they'd never, ever make him regret his choice. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. 3 years. 3 years without a fight. 3 years without the roar of the crowd. 3 years without the thing that made him feel alive. Ali gave speeches, appeared on talk shows, spoke at universities, but it wasn't the same. Because Ali wasn't made for podiums. He was made for the ring. One night, alone in his living room, he turned on the TV. A boxing match was on. 2 fighters he'd never heard of. They were good, fast, strong, but something was missing. There was no story, no meaning, just 2 men hitting each other for money. And Ali realized something. Boxing without purpose is just violence. But boxing with purpose? That's transcendence. He turned off the TV and sat in the dark, and he asked himself the question he'd been avoiding for 3 years. If I never fight again, was it worth it? He closed his eyes and thought about Houston, the room, the paper, the choice, and he knew the answer. Yes. Even if he never stepped in a ring again, even if history forgot his name, it was worth it. Because he'd chosen truth over comfort, and that choice defined him more than any championship ever could. But deep down, Ali wanted one more thing, not to prove them wrong, but to prove himself right. 1970. The phone rang. Ali picked up. "They're letting you fight again." He didn't celebrate, didn't shout, just nodded to himself. "When?" "2 months, Atlanta." Ali hung up and walked to the mirror. He was different now. Older, heavier, slower. The sharpness in his eyes had softened. But something else had replaced it. Something deeper. He started training the next day. His body had changed. It didn't move the way it used to. Punches came slower, footwork was heavier, but his mind was sharper than ever because Ali had learned something in those 3 years away. Fighting isn't just physical. It's mental, spiritual, existential. And he'd spent 3 years sharpening the part of himself that mattered most: his will. The night before the fight, his trainer sat with him. "You nervous?" Ali shook his head. "No." "Why not?" Ali smiled. "Because I already lost everything once. What's left to be afraid of?" The trainer didn't understand. But Ali did. When you've been to the bottom, everything else is just elevation. Atlanta. Fight night. The arena was packed, but the energy was different this time. People weren't just here to watch a fight. They were here to witness something. A comeback. A resurrection. A statement. Ali walked to the ring. The applause was deafening. Not for a champion, but for a symbol. The symbol that you can fall and rise, that you can be broken and heal, that you can lose everything and still find yourself. His opponent was younger, faster, hungrier. But Ali wasn't worried, because hunger is temporary, and purpose is eternal. The bell rang. Round 1. Ali moved slower than he used to. His punches weren't as crisp, his footwork wasn't as clean, but he was still Ali. His opponent landed a hard right. Ali's head snapped back. The crowd gasped, but Ali didn't fall. He steadied himself, looked at his opponent, and smiled. "That all you got?" Round 2, round 3. Ali kept getting hit, but he kept standing because standing was the victory. Round 7. His opponent was tired. Ali saw it in his eyes, the same look Liston had. The moment doubt crept in. Ali stepped forward and threw a clean right hand. His opponent dropped. The crowd erupted. Ali had won, but he didn't celebrate like before. No dancing, no shouting. He just stood in the center of the ring, looked around and breathed. He'd done it. Not just won a fight, but proved something to himself. That absence doesn't erase you. It refines you. But the world still doubted. He's past his prime. One win doesn't mean anything. He'll never be what he was. Ali heard it all and understood. To truly complete the story, he needed one more chapter, one more fight, one more impossible moment. 1974, Kinshasa, Zaire, the rumble in the jungle. George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali. Foreman was undefeated, a destroyer, a man who'd knocked out every opponent brutally, decisively, without mercy. The media called it a mismatch. Foreman will kill him. Ali's too old. This is a funeral, not a fight. Ali read the headlines and smiled, not because he thought they were wrong, but because he knew something they didn't. Strength without strategy is just noise, and Ali had spent years in silence learning strategy. Fight night. The stadium held 100,000 people, all of them chanting, "Ali Bomaye! Ali Bomaye! Ali, kill him!" Ali walked to the ring. Foreman was already there, standing, staring. He looked like a machine built for one purpose: destruction. Ali looked like a man who'd been through war, but in his eyes was something Foreman didn't have: certainty. The bell rang. Foreman charged immediately and threw a massive right hand. Ali leaned back on the ropes and let it pass. Foreman threw again and again, bombs, missiles, fight enders, all landing on Ali's arms, his body, with the ropes absorbing the impact. The crowd screamed, "Get off the ropes! Fight back!" But Ali didn't move. He just leaned, absorbed, waited. Round 2, round 3, same thing. Foreman punching, Ali on the ropes. The announcers were panicking. What is he doing? This is suicide. But Ali knew exactly what he was doing. He was letting Foreman punch himself out. Every punch took energy, and energy in a fight is everything. By round 5, Foreman's breathing was heavy. By round 6, his punches were slower. By round 7, his arms felt like concrete. Ali whispered to him, "That all you got, George?" Foreman's eyes flashed rage. He swung harder, but his body couldn't keep up. Round 8. Foreman threw a lazy jab. Ali slipped it and stepped off the ropes, and in one perfect, crystallized moment, time stopped. Ali saw everything. Miami, Houston, Atlanta, Zaire. Every moment, every choice, every sacrifice. Every person who doubted, every person who believed. All of it converging in this single second. He pulled back his right hand and swung. The punch landed clean. Foreman's legs buckled. He tried to stay up, but gravity won. He fell. The referee counted to 10. The stadium exploded. Muhammad Ali was heavyweight champion of the world again. After the fight, Ali sat alone in his locker room. His body ached and his face was swollen, but his soul was complete. A reporter knocked. "Ali, how does it feel?" Ali looked up, tired but at peace. "Feels like I never left." "But you were gone for years." Ali smiled. "I wasn't gone. I was just waiting for the right moment." "Do you regret refusing the draft?" Ali's face grew serious. "No. Even though it cost you your prime years, it didn't cost me. It taught me." "What did it teach you?" Ali looked at the ceiling. "That titles don't make you. Your choices do." The reporter scribbled. "What's next?" Ali closed his eyes. "Whatever comes. I'm ready." Years later, long after the gloves were hung up, long after the crowds went home, Muhammad Ali sat in his living room. His hands trembled now and his voice was softer, but his mind was still sharp. A young reporter visited. "What was your greatest fight?" Ali thought for a long time. People always ask that. "And?" "My greatest fight wasn't in a ring." The reporter looked confused. "Where was it?" Ali smiled. "In a room in Houston, 1967. "The draft?" Ali nodded. "That was the fight. Everything else was just proof." "Proof of what?" "That I meant what I said." The reporter leaned forward. "How do you want to be remembered?" Ali's eyes grew distant. "I don't care how people remember me." "Why not?" "Because I know who I am. And that's enough." Today, Muhammad Ali's name is still spoken in gyms, in schools, in streets around the world. Children who never saw him fight know his name because Ali transcended boxing. He became an idea. The idea that a man can stand alone against the world and refuse to break. He taught us that courage isn't about winning. It's about choosing what's right, even when it costs everything. Ali lost his title, his prime years, millions of dollars, but he never lost himself, and that's why decades later his story endures. Not because he was undefeated, but because even when defeated, he stood back up. Miami, 1964. That night, young Ali looked in the mirror. He saw a fighter. Houston, 1967. He looked again. He saw a man. Zaire, 1974. He looked one last time. He saw a legend. But here's what Ali learned. Legends aren't born in victory. They're forged in the choice to keep going when victory seems impossible. And Ali never stopped. Through doubt, through exile, through pain, he kept moving forward because he understood the secret. The fight isn't over when you fall. It's over when you stop getting up. And Muhammad Ali never stopped getting up. Thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe for more.